recommendations and seeking recommendations really ruins everything. And when I say that, it is not only in the typical sense that you see most people when you go on Netflix or any of these platforms and you don't really search for anything. It's everything's there. It's like, oh, for you, we think you're gonna enjoy this. The most popular, and everything really algorithmically or not, whatever, doesn't really matter, is suggested to you and is this recording? Yeah, is recommended to you and is really put there for you. And I feel like even when it's not like that, we have this tendency to want recommendations. People travel, and this is where I think it as well becomes quite apparent. They travel to a place, with a sense of adventure, and you're exploring a new place and you're, discovering things. And then what do you do? Do you go around outside and find a random restaurant and just walk around? Most people don't. Most people go ahead and they're like, oh, I saw this viral place on TikTok to get the waffles with the whatever, and I gotta go there. And I saw then this monument that's on TikTok. And most people go about it and they really go from touristic hotspot to touristic hotspot, which there's nothing wrong with going to one or two, but if that's all you do and you're just in the most touristic places, the most recommendable places, you're gonna really miss out on a lot of the beauty of life. And in whatever way you do that, whether that's in movie recommendations or in travels or in books, and I want to get this here, the microphone is recording. One of the books that I'm reading right now and that I'm really enjoying the most, where it's like a selected essays from C.S. Lewis, The Seeing Eye, even the video I'm doing now about morality, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from it. But this was a book that I wasn't recommended. It is, I don't think, that popular. It's not even really a book. It's, even though it's in that format. But it was because I went to this secondhand bookstore and I was just roaming around. Everything was unorganized. I saw the book and I was like, well, let me give it a shot. And happened to be good. The problem is that in going about things in this manner is that I also could have picked a book that sucks. And so the risk or the perceived risk of wasting my time and of, consuming something that is not the best increases. But directly proportional, or I would even say disproportionately in the good sense, also increases the, maybe not the enjoyment of it, but I think the uniqueness of my life experience and of the creative things I might create because of it. Because how can one expect to go where everyone goes and watch what everyone watches and read what everyone reads and consume what everyone consumes and come up with something different? Perhaps you can a little bit, but there's a reason why things seem to become more and more similar nowadays, where, you watch YouTube videos, they all seem the same. You watch movies, they seem to just kind of mesh together in the genre. Everyone is consuming the same things. And if we are to, even beyond creating things, but just having a better life experience, one that's more unique, more original, that has some, what's it called? Not incentive, but, initiative from our side, we ought to do things a lot of times in a more perhaps random and chaotic way. Why search the coffee shop or the restaurant on Google Maps? Why get a recommendation for the movie? Why don't you just, and I understand, in some cases it's hard because, well, if you want to watch a new movie, how do you go about it? There's no Blockbuster, there's no place where you can go. And in some manner, I do understand. But in other manners, well, we gotta make that effort and we gotta put ourselves in situations and positions that really allow for this spontaneity of life to just happen to us, and to place ourselves in situations where don't go to Google Maps and search for the restaurant or the coffee shop, just walk around. And, some of the best ones I've had, the best experience, the more unique ones was that I was just in the place, the new one. For example, I'm now in Japan currently, where I was just walking around and I was like, well, let me go into this spot right here. I still remember one of the best sort of working coffee shops to just be there and sitting was next to me in a sort of supermarket thing with different levels. On the top level, the fourth level, in one of the corners there, in the middle of sort of a clothing store, there was a coffee shop that was perhaps the most peaceful experience of life that I've had working in a type of coffee shop. But could I have found this if I went on TikTok or if I went on wherever? No. Because what we also have to recognize is that everyone that suggests things that weren't suggested before had to do this, had to go to somewhere unknown and to risk it sucking and risk it being different and risking a bit of discomfort. I don't know what's happening here. Even the quotes you see on Instagram, how do you think these passages become quotes and become quotable? Because someone had to read the books and decide, I like this one, I'm gonna share it. That's how it happens. And in a lot of ways, when we're just looking for recommendations, it's like we're looking to give away the autonomy of over our lives a little bit. Because it's like, oh, let me just go. And I was talking about this with my brother. I think he's gonna do an article about it where sort of like you're giving it to the hive mind to decide for you. Like, oh, YMDB population. What is the average of the best movie? What is the best average movie? What is the best average coffee shop? It can be like that. I was even talking like one of my favorite video games of all time is Sly Cooper 2. Most people have never heard of this game. It's a PlayStation 2 game that I played it as a kid, I played it as an adult, equally as good. But I go to any list, it's not there. So if I just went to go to the lists, I would never find it. If I think about music, one of my favorite musicians of all time is António Variações, which is a Portuguese musician, where I'm from, Portugal. But if I go on any list, of course, I'm never going to find it because most lists are about music spoken in English. So we have to, and even in Portuguese lists, it's not going to be there because it's way too old. So in this manner, we have to, I would say, dare a bit more. And not just because, you hear it everywhere nowadays and because, you got to make the most out of life, for how corny that is. But, well, in a lot of ways it is. Because when you really think about it, there's so much nuance to life, possible nuance, possible, different experiences that someone has because of where they are and where they go. And, if you do it right, your life will be a completely unique experience. But when we just try to go to the hive mind and find the best place, so I'm never disappointed, I'm always having the best experience, well, I ensure that I'm never gonna have a truly unique experience. And that my existence is just gonna be a agglomerate, however you call it, of different opinions of experts, whatever that means, of people that have a voice online, whoever gave it to them, or, that makes them more credible or not. I don't think so. And so, the beauty of the Salt to Finish is that it really doesn't even require more out of you. In a lot of ways, it requires less. It requires less searching, less deciding, less overthinking. In a lot of ways, it's just going about your life and being like, let me try this. Let me try that. Oh, that book cover looks good. Let me read it. I remember one time I went for a coffee and they had books there, and one of the books was like on ethical bread making. And I'm not, something like this, where how they say that bread nowadays, perhaps true, that, it's very void of nutrients and the flour is very refined. And in the past, a piece of bread would be a very nutritious food because there was more to it, to the yeast, to the flour, to the seeds they put, all of this. And I found myself reading that and I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Now, does it mean that I'm going to read this full book or that my life will be better because of this or that, or even anything? No. But it makes it much more interesting, I would say. It gives a little different flavor to life, a little unexpected piece of knowledge, information, experience. And for this to happen, nothing other than me just deciding, let me try, essentially just saying, let me try, it makes this experience exist. And so I'm not here to tell you how to live your life and that you shouldn't go to the TikToks to get your suggestions. Do whatever you wish. But I think if you step away from that and you allow the spontaneity to appear and for you to go with the flow, in a lot of ways, you are going to find that there's a different side of life that you've never experienced. And that it's almost like you open a secret door from a place that you've been for years, and now you discover there's a whole different side to it. And you're going to find that in that side, well, in my opinion, life is much more exciting.